Good morning, good evening, everyone. Today is 30th of May 2024, and it is 8:30 a.m. Toronto, Canada's time, and 8:30 p.m. Malaysia time. So, as usual, we will have a walkthrough of what will the upcoming months global trends be through our forecast in using astrology and also in global trend research. So, in June, it's going to be another exciting month. It's a month of durability and perseverance. If you are perseverance enough, I think you could really gain quite substantially in your investment. We have also, talk about uranium for the last, since we begin um our episodes in these global trends and astrology, we already started to talk about that. And today in Canada's headline, I think a few days ago, my sister just showed me that the Canadian headlines, the news says that uranium share is set to fly. I think they are already too late. We have already invested that,
Yeah,
like, taking the action, like, so many years ago, like 1 or
yeah,
2 years ago. Yeah, that's right.
yeah,
And some of them has already, triple in price.
yeah. So
Okay.
Evelyn, you are
So,
in Toronto, is it?
yeah, I'm in Toronto.
Just as a sidetrack, yeah, some humor
Mm,
lah.
mm.
Apparently Canada now they allow weed smoking and all those, right?
Yes.
So that's why they say Toronto is Cantonese translated means 斗油多.
Yeah, that's right. You can see cannabis shop everywhere. They sort of legalize that lah.
Yeah. Those
Yes.
people in Hong Kong is calling that city 斗油多.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, but generally, it's still okay. The situation in North America is still okay. At least, right now that what where I'm in.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So let's go through the talk agenda today. We will go through the introduction, as just now we already talked about it, and then a disclaimer, a brief recap of last month's forecast, influence of five elements energy in May 2024, and sorry, in June 2024. Let me just correct that. In June 2024, and also the geopolitics financial situation in June 2024 as well. So after that, we will follow by a summary. Okay. And here, okay, let's go through the disclaimer here. So the content that we have put up here is purely based on our study in global trends related to five elements in Chinese astrology and global research for you to do, for you to use as a guideline in your investment decision. You should exercise caution in your investment, especially in such volatile situation, and do your own research on the company you want to invest. Although our members always has a privilege that BC Wong will share some of the um, companies. Okay, so but so far, I think we have already done a very good job lah for our company, for our members. So no stock advice will be given as well. Okay. Yeah. So I think we don't have anyone that join us from external today. Okay. So let's recap on the month of May energy. Actually, the month of May is quite exciting. We even have weird storms that comes up as well. A lot of weird storms, turbulence. Even there's one Singapore airline where there are two people dying because of the turbulence and a lot of weird storm phenomenal. Oh,
Recently it's in UAE, if I'm not wrong. Another one,
okay. Yeah,
another turbulence.
yeah. This is part of like period 9 phenomenal as well. Okay. And okay, so we talk about in the month of May, we talk about risky period of a Chen leadership, big movement in Zhen Gua. I think we also see that and that especially in the Straits of Taiwan. So power without checks leads to suppression and dissent. Talk about that. Uh, Militarization and conflict still has not stopped, and technology overreach, and also economic dominance and exploitation, and ethical and moral decline. That means there will be more scams that comes up. And I want to show this one is quite interesting. It's posted by one of my linking connections, that the major news headline that there's sudden rise in the container freights. Do you know we talk about the annual chart where there's no water, right? If you all remember in our annual astrology and global trends talk in May, I think somewhere in February, that I also says that the water industries will be very much impacted, and also there will be attention there. And this one is already now happening, okay, um in I think in the May or April timeframe for the water industries, to where the movement of the goods will be impacted as well.
This is come as a big surprise because right now a lot of people are also asking, why the sudden rise? I mean, there was already a spike, uh, with regard to the Red Sea. A lot of container ships cannot go through, so have to go through Africa. But then suddenly there was another spike,
Mm,
which is quite unexplainable. So, of course, there are a number of hypotheses. Probably, I believe that there is a huge shipment out of China. That is why there's suddenly a jack up in the rates because not enough container shipments. Uh, Not many ships are available, so that is why there's a jack up in the rates. Because normally where shipping is concerned, like for those of you who followed my Busa explanation in international shipping and all those, a lot of the container ships are normally contracted. So during the downturn from the super peak of more than $10,000, I think it reached around, I think 14 or $15,000. I can't recall, but it was one of the highest. And subsequently, after that, the container rates start to fall off. Okay, so I believe at that time a lot of the ships eventually need to go for longer term contract in order to stay, in order to stay in business. And also made worse because just after the COVID, a lot of new container ships built out, new builds were also put into the market. So that is why I think everyone started to seeing that the rates are low, maybe they have extended their, take even more longer term contract because they better than the ship not being utilized at all. And subsequently, when there is just a little bit of surge, there is not enough ships, okay, to do the transshipment. So I believe that could be one of the reason, and that's why suddenly the rates just shot up. Yeah.
okay, yeah. From the Chinese astrology standpoint, we know that this year we already lack of water. And in May, the cold water comes up, residual cold water comes up from last year. So this is why, there is a sudden rise or sudden attention to the water-related industries. These are all water-related industries. Yeah. Okay, so we talk about leadership. So we know what is happening in the Taiwan-China Straits, which already reflected as per the hexagram of last month, which is great power. So now, who is the great power now? I think you all know, right? And also, there are several things that happens. Leadership again. This one is a leadership thing also. Okay. let's go through the month of June 2024's energy. So the month of June is also another it's going to be very eventful month, a very interesting month in the month of June. We already have the chart already have a gung metal. So the gung metal already comes up. And the year pillar is a jia, right? And jia chen. So the gun metal comes up and it will aggressively chopping the wood. That means the east and west conflicts will be even more intensified. The east represented by the wood, the west represented by the metal. Okay. And what happened is that this month, because of metal come-ups, there will be, metal getting more attention. I think we already started to see the price movement of metals. Okay. So and authority is very much weakened because Chia is actually the leader of the year. Okay, because it's the year below. And also is dropping into the year pillar where you have the authority of it uh in this sense because in the chart of this year's chart the day is actually the earth, and also what controls earth is the authority, so the authority will be very much weakened. And in the month of June, I think this is when the Summer Olympics will happen, right? I do not know whether if that, I hope that things will never happen. So it seems that Summer Olympics in Paris is in a very high security mood. So it's quite risky. Okay. If anything happens to the Summer Olympics, I think it will impact the world as well because it's a worldwide event. Although it's a sports event, but Olympics, as we know that for many, many years, they already become that some kind of a political event. Okay.
Just like the
Even
Munich Olympics lah.
yeah. And also even I think China teams when they go are they joining is China joining the Paris
Yes,
Olympic?
yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
so I think they will be under a very high security scrutiny. I'm not to say scrutiny, protection. I would think that it's better that they have very high security protection for this case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact,
The
if we look at it, there's a lot of especially recently with the ICJ ruling, yeah, on
mm,
and also the recent attempted assassination of the Slovakia prime minister. So
mm,
I think a lot of world leaders are also very worried of things getting out of hand.
yeah. The hexagram never lies, ma. Great power, ma. So that's why leadership got shaken. Even in the month of June, I think the trend will continue. First of all, we talk about that one. We predicted that more than 50% of the world population will might have a change in politics, in geopolitics, because the election that happens all these years. And now it comes up that even there will be targeted leaderships violence against them as well. So all these things all comes up at the same time. Okay, so in the month of uh, June 24, hexagram is actually durability and perseverance. So whatever good or bad events, it will means that it will continue because durability, it will carry on to this month, and there will be geopolitical tension escalating, technological advancement, and there will be some like revolution, like resistance to change. And also, if we stay complacent, it will reduce the urgency to address those pressing global issues. Some leaders might make a mistake in their policy that causes um later on it will have an impact to their countries and even to worldwide. Okay, so actually leadership's decision is very important. One very good example will be Britain's Brexit. Okay, that
Yeah.
causes Britain to be in their situation today, and also inflexible strategies that will, that might fail to respond effectively to the current global dynamics. This is what I see from this hexagram itself. I think it's also, showing and reflecting in the leaderships, in the main leaderships, in the main countries' leaderships of the world as well, as you can see. And the changes will also impact on the economy, and economy in terms will impact on the, on whatever the stock markets or current situation is. This is one of the factor. So other factors I will talk about it in the course. I think somebody will register in our accelerated your wealth in period 9 course. So I will talk about that as well.
Just to share a bit about technological advancement, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Today there's a news out that China has come up with a cure for diabetes. Over
Mm,
3 months, there's no need for added for insulin injection and all those.
mm,
So it was all in the headlines.
mm,
And you know what the US pharmaceutical companies did? They asked
mm.
US to sanction the company
Oh,
because they cannot sell insulin anymore. Ma.
huh.
So,
I'm not
so that's why
surprised.
people say some of the US pharmaceutical companies they don't aim to cure you, They will always wants to ensure that you rely on their drugs. And
Definitely.
some months ago, China came out with a cancer treatment drug that in
Mm,
China it costs only 280 US dollar per
mm,
per per session.
mm,
It was approved by the FDA, but in the
mm.
US it's selling at $8,100.
Mm.
So that's how it is lah. That's
I
how
know.
US GDP, is inflated. It comes from all the inflated price for medicine, inflated uh economy lah. You can say.
Yeah. So right now, is intensified. This also is a refraction, it's a manifestation of the East and West war. So the East is trying to get rid of, some of the dependence on the drugs that is invented in the West. Don't you think that is also, coming up, manifesting in this situation as well? So
Yeah.
whoever holds, pharmaceutical companies stocks, need to watch out now.
I think that there are more and more uh, awareness, I think, among a lot of the biotech companies in the East that they want to reach a certain independence
Yeah.
so that eventually they no need to rely on that kind of IP from the West and all those. Also, another thing about poor leadership, uh, starting from today, Janet Yellen's Treasury Department will issue Treasury bills to get the money to buy back Treasury bills.
Hmm.
So Treasury Department is going QE starting from today.
Oh, okay.
So
A
it's
gimmick.
like I I sell you a treasury note, you give me money, then I buy back the treasury note.
Oh, okay. That
so
is,
so that is leadership.
yeah, it's also a decision made, no? Because
Yeah.
yeah, it's also a decision made. So the next one. Okay, so another one is why I say June is a exciting month here. Once again, because I like to sort of converge or correlate the astrology findings together with the astronomical events. Actually, what happens up in the skies will reflected down on our Earth one. That is the wonder. And as you all know, astrology is very much based on astronomy. Okay, the planets, the movement planets. So in June 3rd now, we will see a convergence. I say this as a negative stars in the west. Okay, the negative stars means that they are aggression, aggressive star. Mars, Neptune, Saturn, they are all actually um aggressive star. Okay, so it's like a convergent all together, and even Uranus, yeah, even Uranus as well. So four of I think there are you will not see this again, I think, in many many years. But this time it will be here in the sky. That's why we say that Uranus actually represent leadership. That's why I say that once again, this shows that leadership will have military conflict. These are all like Mars is also a military star. Okay. So the convergence of negative stars also, if you know, flying stars feng shui, so in the west, you can see that actually now I'm in the west also lah. So in the west we have a convergence because 7, we know that this is the original palace stars, right? The home base of west. 3 is actually the month flying star. Okay. And then west, we know that year, we have number 5 as flying star. Number 2, we have period 9 flying star. When the 9, period 9 is always like this. You will have period 9 fly in the middle. And then once you have period 9 fly in the middle, then you have to fly the stars around. Those who know how to fly the stars, I think some of you knows how to fly the star. So you will have 2 again. So 2, 3, 5, 7, they are all in the west. This is where I say so we have to watch out for the Summer Olympics in Paris. Okay. I pray that nothing really happened. Okay. So these are all the convergence of all the negative stars here in June. And with this type of configuration. Okay. And there are also other signs which I will cover still in the accelerated your wealth. I don't care what other Sifu says about number 2 is so good. Number 3 you can use for what? Use for what now? But generally, we in the feng shui, I at least where I learned from 5732 is still a negative star generally. Okay, unless you're in period 7, then it will exhibit its good trend. Okay, maybe now in period 9, maybe 2 will be not so aggressive anymore. Okay, so I think
For
that's
those,
it from
yeah,
me. I'm busy.
yeah. For those who are unaware, Mars in the Greek mythology is also known as the god of war.
Mm, yeah, Mars is also actually represent fire. Okay,
Yeah.
in the 5 elements. Yeah. Okay. So I think
Okay.
over to you, busy. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Evelyn. So I think we got most of our prediction correct in the month of May, except that I was expecting that the Euro area economy would remain subdued in Q1 2024, but its GDP saw a 0.3% growth quarter and quarter, up from 0.1% in Q4 2023. So year on year, it grew 0.4%. And the UK economy grew 0.6% Q on Q, up from negative 0.3% in Q4 2023. So year on year, it grew 0.2%. So originally, we were expecting that Europe would actually take a hit because of a lot of protests. Then its retail sales have been trending down. But surprisingly, there was a strong retail sales in the month of March, which helped the EU and UK economies to recover. So retail sales actually rebounded very strongly in the last month of the quarter. So where we got right, where US is concerned, more talks of stagflation as retail sales remains low amid surging inflation. So retail sales were unchanged month on month in April versus 0.4% expected, while March gain of 0.7% was revised slightly lower to 0.6%. So year on year, it rose 3.5%. Net retail sales less CPI was flat year on year. So in fact, Jamie Dimon actually came out yesterday and warned that US is in fact facing the high prospect of a stagflation. Okay, so I'm not the only one who's saying it. Yeah. So more importantly, the crucial core control group used in GDP calculation plunged negative 0.3% month on month in April versus 0.1% expected. This is the third big miss in a matter of 4 months, and Q2 GDP has started off on a poor footing. So if let's say retail sales continue to be in trouble in the US, then the US Q2, which ends in the month of June, could see some problems ahead. So again, the CRE continues to worsen as more buildings were sold at a discount. Now, some of the discounts were as high as 80%. Okay. So yes, national debt edged closer to 35 trillion, as we predicted that it will move closer to 35 trillion, and with another 2 days today and tomorrow is already at 3.8 trillion. So we are not too far off. So students' protests, which started in the US, spread to Canada, Mexico, and Europe. We already said that it's going to happen because the whole world is suddenly aware. Okay. So conflict worsens in Middle East, South China Sea, between China and Philippines. We see a lot of tension in South China Sea. But I think recently the Chinese Coast Guard decided that any vessels that venture into the South China Sea, the Chinese Coast Guard may actually have the right to go on board and investigate. So there is, and today headline was that the Philippines government is suddenly very worried about the next course that China would take. So again, it is a battle of leadership again. Yeah. So China's blockade of Taiwan caused a flight into US dollar as a safe haven. Okay. That was you can see that there was a certain sell-off on the market on that day. Okay, then yen's shortfall had strengthened the US dollar, capping gold and silver rise. So we predicted that May could see some challenges where gold and silver is concerned. And even today, okay, there is a battle constantly fought between the West and the East. And I think this one would go into June as well. Why I say that? Now, if you have followed the Telegram posting, you will know that China's precious metals price, okay, especially gold, is often at a premium versus the COMEX gold. Silver as well. So the thing is that silver is often at a premium of 10 to 12% versus the COMEX price. And this is why there's a battle right now. And today, the COMEX and LBMA both represent the Western bullion banks. There is a sharp sell-off in silver. Okay, even gold fell less than 1%. Silver fell about 1%. And there's a fight right now going on. China's silver in the vault has depleted to its lowest since the 2020 during the COVID period. So right now it's at its lowest since that time. And there are a lot of people, especially industrialists in China, that are very worried about securing physical silver, because silver is not only a monetary metal, monetary metal has not even come into play yet. Right now, the demands in silver is driven by industrials applications, such as in photovoltaic, electric vehicles, wind turbines, um, even some batteries. Okay, because apparently using a layer of silver actually enhance the uh, the efficiency of the battery.
Yeah,
And
even solar panels.
yes,
Yeah.
and silver is also being used in a lot of medical instrumentations. So
Mm,
that is why there is such a huge withdrawal of physical silver from the SGE vault. And because of that, the SGE is uh, desperately trying to refill that vault, and that include buying directly from the miners. Okay. And the thing is, the LBMA, I think I've shown you a chart that the silver quantity at the LBMA vault has actually fallen quite drastically low. So this war will continue. That eventually, many analysts expect that silver will eventually break free. It has already broken free above almost more than a decade suppression, okay, below $30 per ounce. Right now it's above. The bullion banks are trying to force it down below 30 to temper the the demand, okay, or the speculation. So this war between the East and the West will continue into next month. So the charts are already showing that, okay, where the five elements are concerned. So in Europe, there are more protests across Europe, and this time against the respective government's foreign policy with regard to the Middle East. You can see that they are rising up, okay, about the government support for the war. So more heavy-handed government's policy against freedom of speech and right to protest. So if you say something bad about particular country, okay, then you can likely be taken in, okay, and charged in the court. So there goes the freedom to protest and freedom of speech. And Sweden has just become an unsafe country, just as we highlighted in previous sessions due to immigration. So many months ago, we already said that unchecked immigration is going to bring a burden on the European countries, especially you have people from different cultures. Okay, so right now Sweden, there's almost like a civil war in the sense that there's a lot of gangs fight. Okay, and there are certain areas in Sweden where the own citizens dare not venture into, including the police, because it is a very unsafe area. So so Sweden has turned into an unsafe country from one of the safest country in Europe. And I think the next one could likely be Italy, okay, or Spain, because there's a huge influx of immigration from Africa and Middle East into Europe, driven by the, the war that the West brought to the Middle East as well as in Africa. So it's like, you reap what you sow. So the EU is now instituting an investigation on China EVs on its purported overcapacity. So again, overcapacity, this is just another propaganda because those people that did some due diligence said that China only exported 12% of their production. Germany and Japan they actually exported about 60 and 40% respectively, okay, of their production. So how can China has a overcapacity problem? Okay, but then is this a propaganda because they want to suppress China's growth? So again, NATO edges closer to a direct confrontation with Russia, and recently Stoltenberg said that we should allow, Ukraine to attack cities inside Russia. And recent attacks on Russia's early warning system, Okay, they attacked two of Russia's radar system that is used to detect ballistic missile and approaching aircraft. So two of the radars have come under attack, and this could be a prelude of something of a more major offensive against Russia. So the other thing is that a lot of countries right now, they say they will make available the F-16 jets to Ukraine as soon as possible. And Russia is, of course, very upset, and they want that this could escalate into something much bigger because the F-16 have the capability to carry a nuclear warhead. So with regard to China, economic indicators continue to remain in positive territory despite numerous sanctions and weak domestic real estate market. China's public housing proposal helps support the construction sector, as we mentioned. Month to date, the Hang Seng Construction Index has strengthened 3.7%, and the HSI continued to rally into May, gaining 6% month to date as of 28th of May. So China's EVs market share have reached a staggering 36% in April. We also predicted that China's policy will actually move more people to convert ICE into EVs. So China sold 53 billion of US treasuries in Q1 2024, reinforcing our belief that China will continue to reduce its holding of US treasuries over the long term as its de-dollarization program progresses. Meanwhile, the PBOC continued to add to its gold holdings, which now stands at 2,265 tons. So let's look at the US economic indicators. Now, CPI was 0.3% month on month in April. Year on year, it grew 3.4%, but down from 3.5% in March. But you can see that the US inflation remains very elevated, okay? And not surprisingly, it's because government continues to spend. I'll share some interesting charts later on. Core CPI was up 3% month on month in April. Year on year, it grew 3.6%, down from 3.8% in March. PPI was up 0.5% month on month in April. Year on year, it gained 2.2%, up from 2.1% in March. Now, if you're following me, you realize that if the PPI is the cost of industrial input, and this is beyond the means of the federal government to manipulate. If let's say PPI is up, how come CPI is down? Okay, so apparently people have actually gone in deeper. They actually do realize that what the Bureau of the BLS, okay, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, when they calculate the CPI, if let's say certain items are more expensive, they take down the item, then they put a substitute item that is actually much lower price. Okay, that's how the substitution is being done. Okay, so that it reflects a much lower CPI. And why do they do it? It is because the Fed is very nervous. They want to show that they are winning the fight against inflation. So if they show that they are winning the fight against inflation, then they can start cutting interest rate. Now, why the urgency to cut interest rate? Of course, you can say that the economy is already very weak, but the major reason is because the interest payment on debt has already reached a staggering level. More than $1 trillion is spent on just paying interest rate on US government debt. So that is why I think, this is one of the moves to create an environment whereby it shows lower inflation to allow the Fed to cut. But then I think it is going to be very difficult because commodity prices are rallying, okay? And this will pose a major challenge because and it's reflected in the PPI, okay? It's only such that it's not reflected in the CPI perhaps as yet. So retail sales were unchanged in April. Year on year, it gained 3.5%. Net retail sales less CPI was 0.1%. So if we use the retail sales minus 3.4%, retail sales is just 0.1%. So industrial production was unchanged in April. Year on year, it gained 0.4%. Now, if you look at it, the gain is only 0.4%, but China's industrial production is up 6% So that goes to show that the US industry is actually on very it's not as robust, okay, as China. So a lot of people say that China is weakening, and all those. But if you look at the US figure, it tells another different story. Okay, the NAHB index, which measures the national home builders confidence, came in at 45 in May, down from 51 in April. So it's back into contraction. Housing starts rose 5.7% month-on-month in April, while housing permits fell 3% month-on-month. Existing home sales fell 1.9% month-on-month in April. Year-on-year, it fell 1.9%. New home sales fell 4.7% month-on-month in April, and year-on-year, it fell 7.7%. So again, there is some signs of another housing crisis appearing in the US. Preliminary PMI for manufacturing came in at 50.9 in April, while PMI for services came in at 54.8. So again, this is the index that shows expansion, but then a lot of it could be inflation driven. So leading economic indicators, Conference Board leading economic indicators fell 0.6% month-on-month in April versus negative 0.3% expected. You remember a few months back, we say here could be just a flash in the pan, and we were right, okay? It's only one tick up, whereas over the 20 plus months or so, it's all in negative. Now, something is brewing in the housing market. Here, from the Game of Trades, the delinquency rate for multifamily housing is rising to its highest level since 2013. So that means that those people who are behind servicing their housing mortgages. Now, if let's say this continue to drag on, they are unable to pay, therefore it will result in a foreclosure. And if let's say everyone is rushing to sell their homes, just as there's a rise in foreclosure, then definitely we can have a major housing problem. Okay. Now, the single family home looks set to become the first casualty. When more single family homes are put on sale, it highlights the financial duress of the single family. Here, new ones family homes for sale in the US. You can see that this was during the peak, okay, of the housing crisis. Okay, right now it's moving up. Okay, so there is a chance that we will see a repeat. Okay, and it will probably be housing crisis 2.0. So it can snowball to a bigger problem when single families compete to sell their homes by offering massive discounts. Okay, now, because they want to get out of their mortgages, and it has become too, even though some might sell their homes, even though some bought their homes at a lower mortgage, but another troubling sign has also shown up because household debt has actually increased, and that is normally in the credit card debt. And credit card debt is more than 21%. So given the choice, okay, they might want to sell their home to pay off the credit card debt. because the interest is very killing. So that could be one of the reasons. So housing crisis 2.0 won't be far off when everyone seemingly seeks to exit the real estate market. So this could be something that is probably going to gather pace, because a lot of families are also facing tremendous debt issue. Now, the total household debt reached a new record high in Q1 2024 at 17.69 trillion. And according to the NY Fed, nearly 9% of credit card balances and 8% of auto loans have transitioned into delinquency. Okay, so that means that on top of credit card, they have also auto loans. And for those who actually like to change their vehicles often because of new models, well, the auto loans interests have actually been steadily going up as well. So right now they are unable to service their credit card, unable to service their auto, and that could be the reason why they want to sell their homes so that they get the um, equity from the home to pay off their debt. Because if they don't pay it off, then they are unlikely to borrow again sometime in the future because of poor credit rating. So there's also a resurgence in bankruptcies. Now, US bankruptcy filings are rising again after a brief respite in the second half of 2023. So here, during 2023, for most part, we say that bankruptcies have been rising, okay, but then it started to fall, and then right now it's going up again. And this is not only just in the US, it is a global phenomenon. So this picture is also not good for global business community. Global corporate defaults have surged to a total of 55 so far in 2024, the highest number since the 2020 pandemic. So credit goes to the Corbasi letter for coming out with the charts and so forth. So the thing is that these are not small companies, okay? 55, you may say, it's no big deal, it's small, but these are huge companies that they take into consideration. And if let's say it continue to spike, then we could be facing some severe headwinds, okay, in the global economy. And that is the reason why the ECB is speculated by many analysts that in their meeting in June will likely cut interest rate, because it's the businesses in the EU are also facing tremendous stress due to the high interest rates. Now, here is a chart showing that there is some divergence, okay, between the relationship of the US Treasury and the DXY, okay, or the US dollar index. So here you can see during the same period, okay, from 2022, the rise in the 10-year yield. Now, that is the most widely used inflation and such. So if you look at thing up, but sometime in over here, the is not seeing a corresponding spike in the fact that DXY off tapered off. So normally, if rise in treasury yield seems to signal that higher interest rates are on the horizon, okay? And that would actually push the stock much higher. US Treasury yields has spiked, but the Federal Reserve is not correspondingly increasing their interest rates. In fact, they say that is on hold, is on hold. So that is why it creates that divergence, because somehow people realize that no, the Fed is not going to raise. Okay, so which means the US dollar is not going up any higher because it's not matched. The surging yield is not matched by rising interest rates by the Fed. So that's why we see that the DXY has tapered off. And that could be the reason why people also realize that if the yield continue to go up higher, then the confidence in the US Treasury market will also be at risk because it's not matched by higher interest rates. So if that is the case, people prefer not to hold US dollar and use the US dollar to buy other safe haven assets. Okay, for example, gold. So that is why, it is showing that the impact on the US dollar is diminishing and suggesting that the yield no longer pull investors into buying US treasuries. Okay. Now, what could happen in June? Economic indicators will remain weak owing to weak consumption. Consumers are tapped out of credit. Now, this trend will continue into June. University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Survey also show weakness in consumer expectations. Now, these are the hallmarks of a stagflation. But US government will continue to spend money beyond its means, and that could put a floor for the stock market due to the expansion of M2 money supply. So you can see that since the last few months, okay, after reaching a bottom here, this is over a 1 year period. After reaching a bottom here, the M2 money supply started to go up. And you can see why the stock market also continued to go up because of increased liquidity. So when there is increase of money or liquidity in the market, then it signals that there are a lot of money still. And because investors have little choice, okay, that M2 money supply increases, people worry that the US dollar will continue to grow weak. So what do people do? They put their money into assets. And the most favorite money that is being invested will always be in the stock market, because also driven by the AI craze and therefore pushing the tech stocks even much higher. And then it creates the kind of FOMO. Okay, more people wants to put their money in. For example, Nvidia, it reached 900, then it beats its earning. Then people say the price now can go as high as $1,000 and all the money flood into it. Okay, it's like every hedge fund must own Nvidia. So that has become a bubble by itself. Okay, similarly, in the year 2000, Costco was also in the same kind of behavior like Nvidia. So whether it's going to be a bubble that will burst eventually remains to be seen. Okay, but part of the rally is driven because there's right now an expansion of money supply. So another issue. Evelyn, you have anything to add?
Okay. I would rather that, all this tech and media stock chasing and all this is going to be a very risky behavior. So we do not know how long they are going to sustain, judging from from overall the current situation.
Yeah. Like if you look at it, Nvidia in the past year, okay, or year to date, the gain is actually not a lot, okay. Versus some of the other stocks, they have actually performed much better. Okay, for example, I think last time we mentioned CNOOC. CNOOC have almost doubled, including the dividend payment. Okay, so then it still remain undervalued. Okay, because its previous highs are actually another few times higher than this. So that is why sometimes, when you chase a much, uh, where everyone is going into that trade, you you cannot call it as a long-term investment.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can only go in as a trader.
Yes, yes. And you need to exit when everyone is going in.
Yes.
It is actually is in the law of Chinese metaphysics. Like more people will lose money, then more people will make money. It's
Yeah.
already written in the law of the universe. Okay? It's like 80-20 rules.
Yeah. So if everyone is going in, then if you want to go in, you need to be a trader. Okay.
Mm,
If you think that you'll hold another 10 years, then, it will go up another 20,000%.
mm.
And that's already dreaming. Okay. Because it's already gone up, 20 over 1,000% over the last 2 decades.
Yeah. And also, moreover, this type of stock, they are consumer electronic stocks. Although they are
Yes.
in the upper chain, um, to even another chain which is directly to the consumer, which is the end products, like computers and all this, but it still depends very much on the natural resources.
Yeah. But I can tell you this is that, uh, China has already given instruction for even the automakers, yeah, to
Mm,
reduce their reliance on foreign chip by
mm,
25%.
mm,
So I think gradually China will increase that percentage of, to use local products. So a lot of automakers still use NVIDIA, okay, for their autonomous driving. So I
mm,
think, if China increase that again, they will actually reduce. And right now, NVIDIA is fighting against Huawei. Recently, NVIDIA decided to cut prices for their chips in China, but not the
mm,
top end chips, it's their low end chip,
mm,
which I think China won't be interested because Huawei is coming up with chips that can actually perform uh for autonomous driving and AI and such. In fact, I think I sent out in the Telegram channel a link that says that Huawei right now have a patent using packaging techniques, packaging and processing techniques to actually come up with 3 nanometer
mm,
using DUV.
mm.
So there is really no incentive for Chinese companies who will be more under pressure by the government's policy to reduce reliance on foreign tech. So that's why I think if China one day decided not to use, then the US tech market would have lost the world largest market, which is China. And that could change
The
the fate
consumer
of
market,
the,
yeah, the
yes,
world
that
largest
could change
consumer.
the fate of the industry.
Yeah,
So that is why, do not rush when everyone rush in. There will always be a greener prospect elsewhere.
yeah.
Yeah. So um, like CGM mining, I actually bought CG mining at 53 cents. Okay. And I bought again at 70 cents. I bought again at $1 and 20 or 30 cents. Then I bought again at $1 and 90 cents. And I bought again at $2 and 42 cents because um if you see the unmistakable trend, and from where I bought at 53 cents till now, it has only been 3 years. Okay, and 3 years is already like 53 cents to almost $3. That's about almost 5 times already.
Yeah, that's why investment, our style of investing is always on supply, real supply and demand. Okay, in all these, you know, five elements. If you look at the five elements first, then after that, we only look at the company.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that is how you can make
really
money
gain. Yeah,
from that.
yeah,
Just like recently I share something about copper. Um, all it needs is that, when I say share with you a link that Goldman Sachs and Citibank says that copper will go up to 15,000. The latest one I saw was even crazier. One analyst predicted that copper will go up to 40,000 per ton, which means
mm,
4 times. Okay. the current
Yeah.
price, you know.
Whether it
So
will go up, yeah,
yeah,
there's a chance. We will, we'll uncover the secrets in the whether it will really go up to that or not. We will cover it in the that secrets in our upcoming, accelerated your wealth in period 9 course. So
yeah,
the
because
answer,
during
most of them will be there.
yeah, because we will also be sharing how do you we have a look at the economics behind the copper industry and so forth. Yeah.
That's right.
And also a more deeper insight into what
Mm,
drive, okay, that kind of
yeah,
demand.
yeah,
So here, the CRE crisis won't show any signs of abating as more commercial buildings are sold at massive discounts. Okay, massive bank losses have yet to surface. So this is the chart, okay, that has that the FDIC came out. You know, the bank losses are all here, but then it's never marked to market. So because of the huge losses in the bonds, European banks and US banks apparently they do not mark to the market. Okay. So they put it under a segment called unrealized losses. But if let's say mark to market, a lot of the banks will be underwater already. But no one cares, okay, until it bursts. But then again, recently, Fed's Kashkari, one of the Fed officials say commercial real estate at risk. I expect big losses. Okay, he is sounding a warning. Okay, and in Benzinga, Fed warns against rising delinquency rates, call is a leading indicator that things are about to get worse. So the Fed are sounding the sound waves. Okay, but the market never takes into all this into consideration. Why? Because um, everyone is chasing after the few stocks. Okay, they don't take into consideration that if the floor that holds the stock market collapses, no matter what is on top will also come down as well. So these are the higher the stock market goes up without a major correction, that's when we need to be a bit more concerned. So, but a lot of people are also expecting that the Fed won't hike in June. Okay, so here we also think so because of the government's massive debt and risk holds on CRE loans, which could force many banks to go under. But Fed speakers may jawbone to temper expectations of a rate cut. So they they want to say the Fed could do something, they could raise rate. But so far, after saying so many times, the Fed has still not raised interest rate. I think one of the major issue is because of the interest service on US debt. And I think the other thing is that they are worried of if the banks go under, it will trigger a massive um uh, massive breakdown of the financial markets. So that's why they are very worried. Okay. Delinquency rate will continue to climb as high interest rates begin to bite, affecting many households. And it's already been seen in the retail sales. We have talked many times that as that household debt goes up higher, they will be tapped out of credit. And to make matter worse, right now there are a lot of chain stores that are offering to the public. Oh, we understand that you have you don't have cash, okay, you have a debt concern, but we are giving you this offer, buy now, pay later. So it's not now. If they continue to consume in this manner, they not only hold credit card debt, they are also holding grocery debt. Can you imagine that? So it can only turn worse because everything now is being driven by that. So there will be more protests and the US government will curb dissenting voices. Okay. This is already happening. Okay. And the government will try to contain its narrative. So this is how um the just now Evelyn was saying about political issues. Okay. And when it transcends the borders of a country, it becomes a geopolitical issue. So that dynamism, okay, is reverberating right now across the globe. So political tension could rise in the US as both parties ramp up their rhetoric. Okay, it's like right now between Trump and Biden, their their major rhetoric is who can be tough on Russia and China. Okay, no one talk about how are they going to help uh the domestic how to
Ye-
improve the lives of American. Okay, it's
Yeah.
like who can be
Yes,
yeah.
their people, how to, how to protect their people from inflation and all these things.
Yeah, but Trump has a very interesting idea. Okay, he said that he will use Bitcoin, okay, to offset the U.S. Treasury. That's what Trump said.
Oh, okay.
So, uh, but I think there's a mechanism how they do it. I posted this some time ago in Twitter. One of the things is that why they come up with ETFs is for Bitcoin and all those is to ramp up the price of Bitcoin. And to get even more people to buy Bitcoin is perhaps one day they'll say that, hey, Bitcoin is actually um uh buying US Treasury, okay? As a Bitcoin is backed by US Treasury. So now Bitcoin can also generate interest. And then people rush into Bitcoin some more. And then the US Treasury issue is being solved. Okay, because the people who buy Bitcoin are buying into US Treasury. So that's one way to solve it. Okay, just sharing only. Um,
Hmm.
and
This is
and,
just
and
a
then they say,
hypothesis. Okay.
yeah, just my hypothesis lah. Then they
Hmm.
say that that's why they want Bitcoin price to go even higher so they can absorb all the 34 trillion and growing debt. If we want to count all the uh all the unfunded liabilities, yeah, it's actually
Hmm.
about closer to 200 trillion.
Hmm.
Okay, if we include total US debt right now is 90 over trillion plus unfunded liability, which is 100 over trillion. Okay, then they use Bitcoin. Okay, we absorb all because he's investing in pension fund, he's investing in all this. My hypothesis, okay. I could be wrong. Um, so another thing that is very true, again back to leadership is that loss of global leadership due to skewed policy that increasingly reveals the US hypocrisy. Okay, I think without telling what country, we already know what's happening. Okay.
Hmm.
So economic indicators for Europe, Euro area Q1 2024 GDP grew 0.4%, as we mentioned earlier. UK grew 0.2%. Now, Euro area CPI came in at 2.4% year on year in April, unchanged from March. UK CPI came in at 2.3% year on year in April, down from 3.2% in March. So Europe seems to be seeing that inflation coming down, but I think it's all manipulating the data, to be frank. Because if the US does it, okay, I'm sure everyone have a reason to do it, and then they can say that hey, the US also does the same. So Euro retail sales came in at 0.7% in March, up from negative 0.7% in February. And this was the reason why the strong growth actually pushed the GDP higher. US retail sales came in at negative 2.7% in April, down from up, yeah. So down from 0.8% in March. So that also the reason why the UK saw a positive GDP growth. So if we consider the net retail sales less inflation, then both the Euro area and UK are negative at 1.7% for Euro area for March and negative 5% for UK in April. German manufacturing PMI came in at 45.4 in May versus 42.5 in April, while services PMI came in at 53.9 versus 53.2. So services grew a bit. France manufacturing PMI came in at 46.7 in May versus 45.3 in April, while services PMI came in at 49.4 versus 51.3 a month ago. So France is seeing more weakness. Yeah, UK PMI manufacturing came in at 52.9 versus 49.1, back into expansion, While services PMI came in at 54.9 versus 55 a month ago. So a bit of within a range of expansion, but more leaning towards contraction. So what could happen in June? Sorry, I need to change this. Now, ECB is widely speculated to cut interest rates in their meeting in early June. This is because the high interest rates have continued to impact the economy negatively. I expect the European markets to react positively. So, however, such a move could spur inflation higher. The commodity market rally will further add to the inflation pressure. Euro will weaken and the DXY or dollar index could see some strength. EM currencies could also weaken in response, and yen will see further weakness because of the higher DXY. And you can see that like just because the like recently the DXY went a bit stronger, the ringgit actually came back down to from 4.6 something to closer to 4.7, 4.71. So that is how when the dollar strength increases, a lot of emerging markets currencies will also be affected. So Euro area and UK economies will trudge along as higher inflation could hamper efforts to revive the economy. So sometimes people say that cutting interest rate is good, but I think if inflation becomes much greater, then companies will actually cut staff, okay, or slow down because of rising prices. So if let's say they slow down their production, then that would be insufficient goods to go into the market, and therefore we will see much higher inflation in goods. So therefore, it's a chicken and egg story. Okay, if you want to kill inflation, you will kill the economy uh, very quickly because your interest rate will need to keep on rising. But if let's say it's a half-hearted move like the ECB is expected to be, inflation has not really been brought down closer to the to near zero, but you decided to cut interest rate, then of course inflation will go up again. Then eventually inflation would be so high that it will eat into companies' profits, okay, that they will cut manpower, therefore less people will be working, or they will shrink their operation, and therefore lesser goods into the market. And if let's say that happens, then the economy will still suffer in the end. So it's like how you want the pain to come in. You want the pain to come in great waves, but shorter period, or in slow waves, but very long period. So there is no best of both sides, okay? So Sweden could deteriorate into a violent civil war as the safety net collapses. I put it in inverted comma because that could be a very localized gang wars, okay? And it could actually affect the more civilized of the society. Because if gang wars are running rampant, okay, it can destroy the safety net of the society. So, and because of that, anti-immigration protests will likely feature prominently in June. In fact, we are already seeing it in Germany, okay, and other parts of Europe as well. So EU is showing signs of breaking away from supporting by supporting a free Palestinian state in the Middle East. They are breaking away. Spain have already said so. I think Norway has also said the same thing, Norway or Finland. And then Ireland is also saying the same thing. They want a two-state solution. So signs of internal strife within EU as some countries hold out against supporting the war effort in Ukraine. Countries like Hungary, they are not in favor because already so much has been spent in the war effort, and these countries are actually calling for more peaceful effort, okay, to reconcile. And that is also the reason why um, there's going to be a lot of disagreement within Europe, within EU. In fact, about 2 years ago in our first book for 2023, we say that in the coming years, uh, it's highly likely that the EU can break up because of dissenting views and loss of sovereignty. Okay, because suddenly Ursula von der Leyen, uh, people call her Wonder Liar because she's always lying. Um, is it's like making decision for the whole for all the European countries, and it's like they got no say. Okay, so that that mix of makes actually a fallacy of the so-called um, being a democratic entity. Okay, and that's why a lot of people are voicing against the government right now in Europe. And the ICJ ruling could spark sanctions and animosity between the US and Europe because some of the countries in Europe are supporting the ICJ decision. So let's look at China. China's CPI was up 0.3% year on year in April and up from 0.1% in March. Month on month, it rose 0.1% versus negative 1% a month ago. So a bit of inflation picking up in China. Core CPI came in at 0.7% year on year in April, up from 0.6% in March. PPI came in at negative 2.5% in April, down from 2.5% in March. So here we see a very interesting story. PPI is coming down, but there's inflation in China. So one of the key things is that the inflation could be coming from services because PPI more often than not is related to manufacturing. Services doesn't require a lot of inputs, okay? So probably there is a demand for services side of the economy. And later on, I'll explain. Retail sales climbed 2.3% year on year in April. Okay, 2.3% is actually a sign of slowing down because previously retail sales were actually around 4 to 6%. Okay, right now it's at 2.3%. And that could be the reason why the consumption of goods in China, okay, is in a decline. And industrial production went up 6.7% year on year in April, driven especially by export. Because right now, industrial production in China not only producing for consumption, domestic market. Okay, industrial production in China now has gone into high-tech manufacturing, producing more expensive capital goods, okay, like cars and also ships, which China actually is a major shipbuilder, building for many other countries, and also the introduction of the COMAC commercial airliner, which is also expensive capital goods. So that's why industrial production went up. It may not be whereas manufacturing of goods for consumption may not be as high. Okay, so that is why I think most of the growth is being carried by high-tech manufacturing. So fixed asset investment went up 4.2% year on year in April. Manufacturing investment rose 9.7%, while infrastructure investment rose 6%. Investment in property development is down 9.8% in April. Survey of urban unemployment rate stood at 5% in April. So China's manufacturing is helping to sustain the economic growth, but noticeable slowdown in consumption. Now, here is the main difference. Chinese are saving more and consumption is focused on leisure which is travel, hospitality, and F&B, which are essentially services orientated. So that is why you can see that CPI from the services sector could be the one that is driving the inflation. Because if you look at if you have a Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and all those, if people travel, people in China just share the video, you can see that the crowd during the holidays is terrible. Okay, every major tourist attraction is crowded, but the thing is that they are consuming services. Okay, traveling is a service, hospitality is also a service, F&B is also service related. Okay, and I believe that there are lesser purchases of merchandise related items, and that is why PPI is still in negative, but CPI in positive. So average new home price in China fell 0.6% month on month in April, down from 0.3%, negative 0.3% in March. In fact, it got worse. Year on year, it fell 3.1% compared to negative 2.2% in March. Average secondary home price fell 0.9% month on month. Now, 64 cities out of 70 saw a decrease in sales price of new homes compared to 57 in March, while 69 cities out of 70 saw a decrease in the sales price of secondary home, unchanged from March. Now, the slump in the property sector is pushing the government to formulate new plans to battle the slump. The continuous slump could impede consumption as citizens prioritize savings. So normally, it is because their consumption is lesser in the where goods are concerned. Okay, that is why the government wants to encourage more consumption. And one of the thing is that they are giving a lot of incentive for conversion into NEVs. So again, when they put their money into NEVs, they have lesser for other merchandise because they still want to save. Okay, so what is the Chinese government response? Now, the PBOC announced that it will establish a 300 billion renminbi relending facility to support the government subsidized housing project. Local state-owned enterprises are encouraged to use the funds to buy reasonably priced commercial homes that have completed construction and use these homes to provide affordable housing. Because there are no buyers for completed homes, so the government step in, okay, we'll do the kind of subsidy and eventually use this empty completed commercial homes for affordable housing. So other news, okay, now China's April power use climbed 7% year on year to 741 billion kilowatt hour. Power consumed by primary and secondary industries went up 10.5% and 6.2% year on year. Power used by the tertiary sector went up 10.8%. Now, this again shows that the tertiary sector is mostly in the rural area, and the pickup also fall in line with the rural revitalization program. Residential power use registered a 5.9% increase. In the first 4 months of 2024, country power use climbed 9% to nearly 3.08 trillion kilowatt hour. So here you can see that the power consumption is 9%. So that means that the economic growth is still ongoing. Okay, mainly driven again by technology and high-tech manufacturing. China trade surplus came in at $60 billion in Q1 2024. Of the total, surplus under trade in goods came in at 121 billion. Deficit under trade in services stood at 61 billion. So China is trying to offset, okay, the deficit in the services. And I think that when China fully expand its expertise in services, then perhaps one day the services deficit could be narrowed down. And that is why China is encouraging its technology to spur them to greater growth, because technology can be used to provide enhanced services as a form of export. Okay, sorry, this repeat. So if we have a look at China's EV and renewable sector. Now, this is the major economy that is the high-tech manufacturing. Chinese brand passenger vehicles sales saw 26.7% year-on-year from January to April. More than 4.66 million domestic brand passenger vehicles were sold. The market share of such vehicles rose to 60.7%. So right now, 60.7% of passenger vehicles are actually made up of Chinese brands, okay? Up 7.7 percentage point from a year ago. In April alone, sales of these vehicles surged 27.3% year-on-year to top 1.27 units. So the Chinese Association of Automobile Manufacturers showed that April's NEV production hit 870,000 units and sales reached 850,000 units, up by 35.9% and 33.5% year-on-year respectively. The growth has propelled the market share of NEVs to a notable 36% in April. So the NEV, from single digit to the teens right now is into 30%. And China actually has a deadline that I believe is by 2030, they want to have totally zero ICE or internal combustion engine vehicles on the road. So that means that the EV market will continue to grow over the next few years. And this will provide a lot of opportunities for the companies that participate in that. In fact, there's a changing trend in the NEV, but we'll talk more about that in our period 9 course. So from January to April, China's production and sales of NEVs reached 2.985 million and 2.94 million units respectively. So this represents year-on-year growth of 30.3% and 32.3% respectively, and has increased the market share of NEVs to 32.4%. So April alone was 36, but overall, over the 4-month period is 32.4. So that goes to show, okay, that April has actually outperformed the average over the past 4 months. And China's total installed power generation capacity reached around 3 billion kilowatt in April, up 14.1%. The combined power generation, wind and solar capacity hit around 460 million kilowatt and 670 million kilowatt in April, up 20.6 and 52% year-on-year respectively. Now, from January to April, the country's major power generation enterprises invested a total of 191 billion in various projects, an increase of 5.2% year-on-year. China's investment in power grid projects was 122.9 billion during the 4-month period, up 24.9% year-on-year. And this is why most of the copper is going to, okay? China is actually the world's largest consumer of copper. China actually has an existing electricity grid. And what happened was, few years ago, China decided to revamp its entire electricity grid, because the older electricity grid consists of wires that actually generate a lot of heat, and the energy that is transmitted through the wires are being dissipated through heat loss. Okay, so that is why by using a smart grid, Okay, means overhauling the entire grid system. And that is where the copper are going into. If you look at China's grid, we are talking about could be tens of thousands of kilometers in terms of length. So, and also the EVs and such. So that's why China is stockpiling copper. So what could happen in June? Now, China's economy will continue to grow within expectations, driven by government's policy to drive consumption. In fact, there's right now a policy whereby if people change their ICE vehicle to NEV, there's a subsidy. And a subsidy even when they convert their electronics, outdated electronics, into the new era electronics, like TV, okay, and other electronics as well. Now, the added stimulus for property market could fuel GDP higher, and IMF recently revised China's GDP growth to 5% from 4.6% earlier. Now, China actually implemented a stimulus for the property market in a sense that they created a floor for they removed the floor where a minimum mortgage uh, could be charged. So they also reduce the deposit that is required, okay, to be paid before you can apply for a loan. So all these are actual stimulus to spur the property market back into life, because the kind of fall in the price that we just saw just now is a bit of a concern, because over a longer period, the price have fallen around 30 to 40%. And if let's say, because a lot of the Chinese, they invested in properties, dating back, 2 decades ago, and having seen their property price escalate, let's say increase by a few 100%, that 30 to 40% drop is very substantial. Okay, for example, if the property appreciated by 200% over 2 decades, a 40% drop means that their home equity value has dropped by 80 has dropped by 80,000 has dropped by 80%. Okay, because 40% out of 200% gain is actually um um sorry, if the property is about 200,000, okay, that property value have from 100,000 gain to 200,000, that 40% drop would be the equity dropping by 80,000. Okay, that would make it simpler. Okay, so overall, that gain from 100,000 to 200,000 has become just a 20,000 gain. Now, if let's say they see their home equity value drop, they are even more worried, okay, and decline to spend their money. So unless the government come up with policies that help them boost the value of their home equity, then the confidence will return and they would consume more. So that's why recently they come up with another stimulus, okay, to encourage people to enter back into the property market. But anyway, I still believe that it's too soon to, having seen this, I don't think it's necessary to immediately buy all the property stock, because a lot of the property companies have been very badly hit and their balance sheet has been severely damaged. Okay, you need to see them going back into growth before I think it's worth the dip into buying Chinese related property stocks. And IMF recently revised China's GDP growth to 5% from 4.6% earlier. The HSI, SSE, and Exact SE, okay, the Hang Seng Index, and the Shanghai Exchange, Shenzhen Exchange could see gains as China opens up financial sector and government's policy to drive growth gains traction. So it's very important that this kind of policy is shown to boost consumption, and then we could see more funds coming in to invest into the Chinese market. But nevertheless, the Chinese market remains one of the most undervalued, okay, when compared, one of the most undervalued when compared to the to what the European market is or the US market is. So adoption of NEVs will continue to gain traction, and Chinese passenger vehicle sales will also gain market share. Some EV stock could have been lagging behind, will see a jump in market share and see a boost in the stock price. And charging stations will also do well. Now, China will escalate the disposal of US treasuries and buy gold and other commodities, and this trend will continue, will be a continued feature in the government's policy. So news of the internationalization of the renminbi will gain prominence. And right now, China is in discussion with several OPEC countries. In fact, they are from the Gulf states. Okay, so as SGE silver vault continues to see huge drawdowns, Chinese buying of silver could drive the price of silver higher. Therefore, silver gains could outpace gold in percentage terms. So geopolitics. The war in Ukraine will likely worsen, driven by NATO's new approach to allow strikes on Russia's city. Recently, too, Russia's early warning radar systems have been damaged by attacks. So, and both sides have threatened nuclear escalation. Why? Because these radars are being used to identify incoming ballistic missile. To render them inoperable means to Russia that they are preparing for a nuclear attack, that the other side is preparing to launch a nuclear attack. Okay, that's their perception. And Russia's retaliation would be, recently they asked the nation's nuclear forces to be on a standby. Okay, so that means this kind of escalation is really not good. Okay, Europe's entanglement in the Ukraine conflict will deepen and will likely worsen its economy further. Russia has called on its people to prepare for a war economy. In the Middle East, the crisis in the Middle East will continue until all acts of violence are stopped. Due to the crisis, the US is no longer seen by many countries as a global leader. Many of the US allies have also spoken against the atrocity committed against the Palestinians, and internal strife could escalate in the US and Europe due to political and ideological differences. Now, de-dollarization, some very interesting news. See recent speech in welcoming Arab leaders. Now, China supports closer cooperation between financial institutions from the two sides, welcomes Arab states to issue panda bonds in China, and welcomes Arab banks to join in cross-border interbank payment system, the CHIP system. China is also ready to deepen exchanges and cooperation with central bank digital currency with the Arab side. Okay, so this is the strongest hint that China is going to internationalize the Chinese renminbi. And one of the way to do it is by getting those countries to issue Chinese bonds. Okay, so, and suddenly people hold Chinese bonds as an investment, and therefore will actually compete with the US treasuries. Now, the above will expand the internationalization of the renminbi, and Saudi Arabia agreed to join the Shanghai Cooperation Organization as a dialogue partner. Shanghai Cooperation Organization is different from the BRICS. It is an organization that focuses on not only economy, but security, and society. Okay, which means when you talk about society, will be political exchanges. Okay, having more political cooperation, but most of all, it has a security um, inclusivity, and that could actually change the 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 entire Middle East because Iran is already a member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the SCO. Okay, if Saudi Arabia comes in, then there'll be two anchor players in the Middle East. And China and Brazil made a deal to ditch the dollar for trade. ASEAN nations consider dropping the US dollar, euro, yen, and British pound from financial transactions. India will buy Russian oil using the ruble. And I haven't added in yet. Thailand's parliament has approved the country's application to join BRICS. So the dollarization is in fact gaining steam. So Evelyn, back to you.
Look at what our next project will be. We have already talked about, we are creating a course on accelerate your future wealth in period 9. So in this comprehensive course, some of you has joined, registered, paid. Thank you very much. Okay. Some of you has sort of registered. So I will talk to individual of you because I have not seen the payment yet. So for this one, in this comprehensive course, we will dive into the fascinating world of Chinese astrology and also period 9 itself. We already seen the start of 2024 is already a period 9 and many fascinating phenomena is going on. Okay? So the purpose of this course is for you to gain insights into the future economic trends and opportunities. And for those that has already followed us for the past 2 years, I think you can safely attest that most of our prediction or our forecast on the global economy trends based on Chinese astrology has so far been quite accurate, at least to 70 to 80%, which enable you to gain profit handsomely. Some of the things that we have recommend has already gone like 2 to 3 times, especially for our members. So I think it will be good that it's not too late. This is just the beginning, and the future opportunity awaits for every one of us. Okay, so as I said, don't go into something that people are chasing for it. If I go into Facebook, everyone is chasing US market, everyone is chasing tech stock, which is not a good way to do it. The correct way is really to study and to substantiate with very good fundamentals, which PC and I are doing, and we are doing two methodology. Chances of we going wrong, I don't say that we are 100%, but chances of getting the gains that you want will be quite high. And ours one is like sustainable investment. If you're looking for sustainable investment, I think this is the course for you. So you can harness the power of Chinese astrology, global trend research for you to make informed decision. And the course will be online Zoom session for over 2 weekends. And if you are not free to attend the course, it's okay. The recording will be available for free uh, um for a period of time for at least maybe about 3 months. Okay, for those that wanted to join the course. And the key learning, you will have a deep understanding of Chinese astrology, how it impacts the global trends, and how it impact you individually. I have a section on that. Okay. And then you gain insights on the various performance of industries under the 5 elements. Once we understand the 5 elements and how it impact the economy, we know the economy is just about supply and demand. And you will look at the 5 elements in terms of supply and demands first. Then only the sector or the category or the energy that you should invest first on the 5 elements, and only you look at the company itself. And from there, it will really unlock your wealth potential. I have attended many Chinese astrology course and also some investment course, and nobody can really link so direct as what we are doing now. You can directly, make an informed decision on your investment. So um the modules is module 1, we will introduce about period 9 in more details and comparing the period 9 of past and the upcoming one. There is a slight difference. There is a difference. And why is it different? Then, and also the performance of the 5 elements economic activities. This is even a more updated version from our Unlock Your Wealth Potential book. Okay. So if those that have read our Unlock Your Wealth Potential book and take action, I think today you will also gain. And activating your wealth code in period 9. This is more to individual, where you check your own birth chart alignment to period 9, how to empower your environment, and the skill sets to invest, action plan, what to take as well, and the universe, how to tap into the universe with detailed commanding framework that I'm going to give to you step by step. Next is we will focus all the economic performances on the 5 elements, and also the conclusion. This will be PC's section. So for members, it will be, we will give a special rate for members. It's already in our members Telegram channel group. We talk about that. For those that do not join as member, this is also an investment of a lifetime. If you follow correctly, I'm sure you can easily get 599 return back of your investment. In fact, many folds back. Okay, those that invested in our membership, I think you all these days are 抵晒㗎啦. Okay, it's already worth all your returns already. We only charge about 100 plus for the for the membership for these 2 years. I think you all have get back many times already. Better than you invest in 10,000 cost 10,000 and you still cannot see the ROI yet. So the thing is 599. We will give you a free, how a free lessons on how to pick quality stocks with PC, and I will give you a free recording of astrology and personal finance. The early bird, I think the early bird we still have a little bit, not many. If you join us today, then you will get the recording immediately and you can listen to it. So the date is set on 22nd and 20th of June 2024. Okay. Okay, so I think this is it. So this is the summary for my part here. So June will be the theme will be on leadership, decision and attention, and even their safety. We need to check on the Paris Summer Olympics. Military activity will be heightened. Straits of Taiwan incidents. As I said earlier on, even in the annual global trends and astrology talks, chances that it will escalate into the war will not happen yet. Maybe it's just for show lah. Okay, and then you will need to watch out. All the members, all that has listened to us, even your non-members, we are also very generous. We share our knowledge. That's why we open to non-members to call in to join our Zoom session as well. But for this month, I'm a bit slack. Maybe those that follow PC1 can get the details. It's everywhere. We post it in Facebook, we post it in Telegram. We even, send the email to your mailbox to invite you to join us. So we believe that those who has affinity and maybe those that has affinity towards investment that follow us, then they will this one. We will not really hard sell, go and do advertisement and all these things, because we know that to make money is always 80-20 rules. Only 20% of the people is able to really accumulate the type of investment return. So you really, those that have already joined us, watch out for our study. Always watch out for our study on the world commodity. It's actually based on very strong fundamental. Because when you look at those, okay, you look at a lot of analysis, right? And now on stock and all this, they will give you only, a small snapshot, a part of the supply chain. That means it's only to the consumer side because I'm into supply chain as well. But we look at it from the totality of the supply chain from the upper tier to the lower tier on the supply and demand. This is how you gain in investment. Okay, so I'm over to you. I'm busy. I think no need to change already.
Yeah, I think of course one of the thing is that commodities price are right now rising, and this is a warning shot that the resource depletion is real. Um, Even those lesser known commodities, okay, like zinc, is also going up. Tin recently went up, and nickel is starting to go up again. So these are all very basic commodities. I think iron is also trying to make a move. And of course, the normal breakfast things like coffee, orange juice. Oranges have gone up even higher. So that means that if you look at it, all these prices are going high. You have to question why the CPI readings are still low. Okay, so it doesn't make sense, and only you can only see the real stuff, when you see the because CPI is direct industrial input. It has nothing to by the inflation. Okay, and looks set to the property
Yeah.
markets.
Yeah, okay. And we will
A
also
lot of
uncover in
people,
period 9 whether the commodity
yeah,
prices, why it goes so high. We will uncover the
yeah,
reason behind from the astrology standpoint. So whether it's real high or is it sustainable or not, then you can even make a safer decision whether to invest or not to invest in the commodity, not to chase for it, but to understand the fundamentals behind it.
yeah. So the other thing is that the escalation of conflict in the Middle East and Ukraine and Europe could be drawn into a direct war with because of what is transpiring right now. Okay, and there are certain leaders in Europe that wants to stand out, okay, and they are also vying because the next person, they are going to choose the next person to be the president of the European Union. So a lot of all these upstarts are trying to vie, okay, to become the president. So they are becoming uh very rhetoric, okay. They are becoming fearless by totally being foolish, into trying to pursue their ambition, okay, by drawing Europe closer to a war with Russia. And definitely we know that the US market is in a mania and risks certainly have increased. Now, sometimes sometimes you need to take a step back. Okay. In the US, there are also some stocks that are in the same league, you know, going into the AI and going into the technology or semiconductor. Okay, but then they are priced much less. Okay, let's say Nvidia is 1,000 plus. Okay, there are some stock that is just slightly above 100, and there are some in the AI sphere that is just in the 20s or 30s. So sometimes you need not chase those that are at the top because the risk to reward, okay, leans more towards risk, okay, with lesser reward. But if
Okay.
you go on the lower end, yeah,
Okay, yeah. If you really want to know those stocks, the names and everything, I think you need to follow PC on his investment in foreign share.
yeah. So
Yeah.
um the that's why you really need to discern, okay. And the other thing is that the M2 money supply will put a floor for the market, even though there could be some correction on and off. Like I say, I am a true follower of Michael Oliver. He has said many times there's not going to be severe market crashes, but it will be a gradual decline. So I think that is what is going to happen because the US will forever have some money to support. So what we will likely see is that in the event of inflation going higher, people will still put money into the stock because people see that the returns from the stock market would outpace inflation. And therefore, we will have a scenario similar like Venezuela. Okay, so Venezuela stock market is at record high, but when measured against gold, it is actually in negative. And right now, someone actually posted on Twitter recently that if we measure the S&P in terms of gold over the past few years, the S&P has only risen about 15%. Okay, because gold have also risen very aggressively. So that's why sometimes inflation, people put money in stock market because they want better returns. It will outpace. But then if you are someone that understand gold, then you would know that gold actually serve to protect your wealth. Okay, how you actually make money from gold is never through just buying the gold itself. Actually, you don't make money from buying gold. It's just that the value of the currency depreciate against gold. Okay, so you need to be a bit more aware of this. And I think gold and silver could be reinstituted as a real money, not in the month of June, but I think there'll be more hints that will come about. And even in the US, right now, there are certain states that are like last month, I think there's another state that actually passed legislation that gold and silver are actually money, okay, and therefore anyone who buys it cannot be taxed for capital gains. So that is how the world is changing. And Zimbabwe, okay, where you have $1 trillion note, after they back their currency with gold, their inflation actually dropped and their currency actually appreciated. Okay, so that is how people, even IMF at first was against it, but having seen that Zimbabwe's currency has appreciated because it's being backed by gold, now IMF is saying that it's a good model. So when IMF is saying that, then it is a clear sign to everyone, hey, it's something that the IMF is no longer against. We can actually start instituting our own gold-backed currency. So I think this is a trend that will gradually play out. Okay, so that's my area. Maybe you go to the Q&A.
Yeah. Any questions for me? I see one is that a remark from SB says that repost page on fees. I do not understand what is this meaning, SB. And never mind, it's okay. I will, this one you. Okay, you can let me know if you can type here that, what exactly it means. Any other questions from the floor? Today, no Augustine, so no questions. Anyone? So if really no questions, it's getting late. I'm in Malaysia, and I really hope that you can join us on Accelerate Your Wealth in period 9 is actually not expensive. We can always, give you courses that is affordable with rich, good content, and you can join us. And I think you will have a better idea on what to do um personally in period 9 as well. So this is a definitely this will let you traject into your period 9. Okay, yeah.
So, okay, see you
Yeah.
next month and also
And
in
Kawai
our
also say
course.
thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah. I hope we will see, most of our members in our course. It will be a good this one, a good investment. Okay. So thanks. Thank you everyone. Thank you, PC.
thank you, Evelyn, and thank you all who log in into our session. Have a pleasant night and happy weekend ahead. Bye bye.
Mm. Yeah, okay, bye bye.